Hello, hello, hello. My name's Jared Bernard and welcome to Robin's Hood. Oh, and water stuck in my throat. Today I want to talk to you guys about value. And whew, this one's a monster. When I started looking into value and how that's changed over time, how our concepts of it have evolved, basically. The idea of understanding it and being able to, how do you put it, explain it to other people, and then to be able to identify how is value impacting the world. Like, that's a whole other ball game. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick second and just tell everybody, like, so you know, the first part of the format today, I'm going to be starting off by just saying my piece, right? So I'm not gonna answer any questions. In fact, I'm going to turn down my chat now. You know, the light went down, so I can't see if you're there. If you're here, thank you for being here. I look forward to having this conversation with you. This is one that I'm still in discovery of. I had hoped to unpack a whole idea for you today, and I think I have. I really do. I think I've got my outline, my premise, and my conclusion, but I also feel that there is a real reality to this concept that if I ever think I know what I'm talking about, I think I'm just doing it wrong. I think there's there's an innate ignorance in trying to talk about things this big, and I think if we don't acknowledge that, then how do you put it? We will ultimately be doing it in disservice. But I will be going back and looking over any comments that are made, and then having a quick Q&A if people are interested. Ooh, so let's talk about value. So essentially, what I want to start by doing is breaking down what I think are 4 systems of value that are apparent in today's society. And I think one of the most obvious ones is economic. And to simply break that down, and especially how we use it today, like in a form of economic capitalism, is that breaks down to. Oh, sorry, I also have my notes down below. So like, it's so big. But I have enough of it memorized, I think, to just spout at you. But anyway, sorry, I just realized I was glancing down. So it was talking about economic value. Economic value basically breaks down, especially from a capitalist standpoint, to what will you do for money and how little can they pay you for it, or will you get paid for it, and along with what will you spend money on, and what's the most they can charge you for it, right? So that's I think that's. And that's got to be a capitalist standpoint. It's an opportunist system, and I don't need to go into my opinions on capitalism. That'll just that's a whole other video. But yeah, that's the basic economic principle of value, especially in today's. I think there are other ones that could come up, but that's the way I see it today. I'm totally open to looking at otherwise. The next one is time. So how we value one's time, and this is a really interesting one because this really kind of just breaks down to action, and you can really see someone's investment in time in their eulogies. People will talk about how they spent their life, what they did with their time, and your time also basically what you do with your time will dictate a lot of your future. We're linear beings. What we put in front of us it ends up being the thing we continually step into. But yeah, so time is another one of our value systems, and it's just basically what you do. Then there's personal. Like your personal value, and personal value. I think it's personal, right? It's your knowledge of either the thing, the activity, the concept, or a shared knowledge will dictate that personal value. And what's actually interesting is personal value commonly has a direct connection to time. So you'll have invested a time into something or an idea or a project, and that time value will dictate a personal value. But also what's different is that a lot of personal values are considered sort of they have no resale. Not invaluable. Is it invaluable or priceless? Priceless, right? Some people have things they just wouldn't sell for anything, right? But then what's equally interesting is that I'm jumping the gun. Sorry. So that goes under the personal value. It's a pretty simple one. It's your knowledge of a thing and the time you've spent with that thing. It's personal. It's to you. And then the last one, this one is it's been explained a few different ways from what I could see, and it's not commonly put under value because it actually breaks down to needs. But the reason why I want to put it under value, which is, I'll tell you what it is. It is yourself, your personal value, what you have to being a being of value, and in that you have base needs with the goal of survival, right? With the goal of, or I think about more than survival. I think now we're in the terms of goal of being prosperous, and so. If you have the goal of being prosperous, you have some base needs, and they have a value. And we have moved into a system where essentially, I should cover those base needs. Like this is actually like I've been covered probably better than I could really do. It's very Maslow hierarchy. I think he's made it very like his is very current, like or much more. Not current. That's not the right word. I even brought it up to look at it. Right. So yeah, like it's more. I'm talking more like the physiological needs to start, like your air, your food, your sleep, your your clothing, your shelter, the ability to reproduce, love, your safety. Like so, all of these things they have a certain level of value. And what's happened is society has created this sort of safety net. Right, like it's society, like living within societal boundaries. We've escaped a lot of dangers of nature and kind of created some of our own dangers, but we don't have those same dangers, and so we can now trade off some of that safety for money. And we've developed this concept of compensation where we can more than just safety. People now we are economically bound to our self-preservation, right? Like we need to spend money to get water, to get food, to get shelter, and to do any really to have to develop a self-esteem. We need money. It's and it's not to say you can't have a self-esteem without money, but I think it's going to be a different social system there. But anyway, one of my premise was after outlining all these systems of value was that the thing, was that there is a hierarchy to these value systems, and I think that's kind of always been present in society. And the thing you can, or the way to determine the hierarchy of value is to usually see what will get traded the most for the least. So, like if you're trading $1 for 5 apples versus $1 for like I don't know. 10 bananas, right? Those are roughly equivalent amounts of, or like a banana and an apple are like the same amount of food, 1 to 1. So like obviously the bananas have less value, right? You're getting way more bananas for the dollar than the apples. The apples cost more. Anyway, so there's this hierarchy, and in today's society, I think it's really clear that money it's the highest of them all. We're all pretty much willing to trade off something that really actually will contribute to prolonging our life, making us happier, or not necessarily making us happier, but putting us in touch with the ability to be happier and allowing us to be more present with our happiness, and to it can take time away from your loved ones and your life, the things that you would alternately invest in. And so the things we're willing to do for money today, I think there's this huge trade-off. And we have gotten into such a, what is it called? Is it a buyer's market? Such a buyer's market, like people who are employing. You can deprive an employee a ton because jobs are more scarce than ever. Though I don't know, like I'm doing this job now, which is blowing my mind. Anyway, so yeah, the idea here is that trade-off, I think the natural response to not feeling like your society is first investment is yourself, like humanity, or self-preservation. It's depressing. I think the fact that people are experiencing depression on higher levels than ever before, experiencing anxieties at such high level, like anxiety disorders, experiencing, like there's so many different kinds of disorders and neurological deficits and things that are just, I think when you look at the experience of the individual, to call that a disorder, it doesn't do justice to the reality that that is a natural, it feels like a natural response. Like, if you come from a place where you didn't get necessarily a lot of love, you didn't get not a lot of care, and you now have to work to do anything to take care of yourself. Like, it's understandable if there's a lack of self-preservation, right? Like suicide rates being high. Anyway, this has kind of gone off sideways. The overarching idea was that I believe society now needs to step up and identify the basic human need of life. And because I think we're there. I think we have the capacity to do it. There is enough food to go around. It's talked about how much we throw out. It's ridiculous. There is enough housing to go around. The idea that the economy will make that move it's just clearly not working. The scarcity isn't the problem anymore. It's the fact that we've been sold on it, and we're continually trying to buy it. And so we need to, it's time for workers and everyone around the world to demand. We need to demand that those personal needs are taken care of at the ground level. Like the fact that the bottom line isn't personal, it's business, it's inhumane. And the idea that humane stands for humanity, a part of us, we need to live up to that. We need to stand up for that, because that will ultimately allow us to continue to prosper or to develop a prospering system. Whereas right now we pretty much have a system that was developed and stands on oppression. Like it's one of the founding traits of humanity, and we need to evolve past it and acknowledge where we've been doing it. And anyway, I think I do think of the economy as an oppressive system, but maybe it's more about the capitalist side of it. I don't know. Anyway, that's I think my rant. I feel like I got most of it out. I'm curious if there are any questions. I haven't looked, so I'm totally gonna look now. No, nobody asked a question. That's okay. I'm pretty sure about that. I know that. This is the laugh chat. Well, that's my rant. That's my rant on value. I think it's funny. There's some things that came out there that I don't know they were as intended, and then there's some things that, did I cover everything? Let me double check to explore why. Oh yeah, no, I decided not to go back to the history of value. I don't think that's as valuable here. I'm more just talking about how those four systems, they all really did develop from an early development of self-preservation, right? Like the idea of our time being important and the idea of what we care about being important comes from the idea that we have preserved ourself, we've taken care of ourself enough to become aware, right? Like the consciousness developed out of that. It developed out of taking care of ourselves and each other, and creating a system that's social. And I think there's something that's actually very, as far as I understand it, there's a more tribal understanding to the social hierarchy, where you put forward the needs of each other before the work, and then those who are best able at the time do the work. And then there's a bunch of teaching that goes into then developing the systems that would then help make the best work, and then the workers the best to do that work, right? And working more out of a need than a surplus. That surplus is such a radical problem in terms of our value system. The idea that we make more than we need and then push that product to develop more value and in money. Also, the idea that money is its own dictator of it, like it dictates its own. Money dictates its own value, right? Our dollars go up, and anyway. It's so intense. If you're just starting in now, you missed probably all of the rant. It's all there, which I don't know how to help you with that. But if you have any comments or questions on value, I'm totally open to throwing something down now. If not, I'm probably gonna have to call it soon, because it's, what do you call it? It's pretty much I've gone over everything, and Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Like the understanding of individuals' value. The problem I think really comes from the evolution of value, right? We're still in a place where what people said, what was it, like 150 years ago or 200 years ago? Was it? I'd have to look that up. When the Bill of Rights? When was the Bill of Rights made? I'm not an American. Or is it? When was the Second Amendment written? Or signed? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. 1791. All right. Well, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, exactly. The right to bear arms. The our rights and our values, like where I alone value there. I guess that there is a distinct overlap. And the Yeah, it's such a wordplay issue, and people have just we've fallen into this. Yeah, the right to bear arms. The idea that can't be limited. I don't know. Have you seen what is it, Miss Sloane? Ms. Lewis, Jessica. I'm curious, though I'm not sure how long it takes for quite an answer to get to me. So, oh no, you have not seen Miss Sloane. If you the moment you have some time to watch a movie, I think you'll highly enjoy that. There are some lines in that yeah, Miss Sloane. I think it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure. I've watched it like 3 times. It's just pretty badass. It's not kid friendly. Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, but it's good. It talks about gun control, gun issues, and lobbyists, and it's well done. I enjoyed it. It's funny, like gun control. Well, funny. That's one of my ones I really got to cut that one out, because there's a lot of the times I'm talking about something that's not funny, and it's just my way of segueing into a conversation, and it's just not. It's moderately inappropriate. Oh, what was I going to talk about though? Well, checked myself into a brain fart. Yeah, the idea of talking about gun control, and that the right to bear arms was never something that was meant to be touched or amended, right? Like that's. Well, I think it's going to have to come from a demand. It's very much from the people thing, right? Like one of the things that's been pretty prevalent in history is that it's never been the oppressor who overturns their oppression, right? It's always the ones that are oppressed that have to do the thing their oppressor is not willing to do. They pretty much have always had to go the extra mile, and it sucks. But it's just the reality. And the other thing too is that it usually gets worse before it gets better, right? So once workers start to demand basic human rights, and what that looks like, that's another thing where we run into one of the biggest problems in today's culture is we have a radical demand without a radical outline. And that's it's not a fault of how do you put it, the people who are creating the change. It's just an issue in humanity. These are big topics. This is not that we're not gonna be able to figure it out right away. But I think the big question of like you said, how do we do it, and then what is the breakdown? How do we outline it? But it's really just organizing and demanding, and acknowledging the companies that do it, right? Like what companies are really going out of their way for human care, and then just like be like, that's the demand, and also make a base demand for companies that are starting, right? If you're starting up and you can't afford to pay an employee, like if your employees are working part-time or full-time, there should be a base equation around full-time. Essentially, if you're working full-time, the minimum should be that your you could take care of a two person family, like a two children family, and a partner. That should be it. I think the other idea is that if you have a kid and you're with someone, you guys can each work 20-hour work weeks and stuff like that. But anyway, that's more like the deeper breakdown. But nonetheless, the idea that it's a demand. We just don't work for companies and don't allow companies to do these things. And they've got us, though. That's the real problem. They've economically really got us. This is not an easy thing, right? Striking and setting up protests and doing the things that impact society. It deeply impacts those who are trying to overcome the problems. But it doesn't make it any less the idea. And I don't know necessarily other ideas, and I'm open to other ideas if people have them. I'm just leaning on the things that I've been shown. Sorry, there's another comment. The oppressors can do work as allies, though. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things there is that they need to identify, right? Like self-identify. That's the thing too. And there's a tough one in the range of people who are guilty by association as opposed to necessarily guilty by action. And so like that's when we move into like the what did someone earn through the privileges they've had versus the actions they've taken against others. So if you have privilege in your life and that can dictate how you get to behave and has a lot of benefit in your society, then acknowledging that privilege is, I think, one of the biggest things you can do, and acknowledging your ignorance to a lot of the problems that are out there, because that's just another major issue. That's the oppressors can do work as allies. It's a tough one, because like there's so many people. Like there are times where I identify as someone, like I don't identify as someone who's like a white oppressor. That's not something I identify as. I identify as someone who comes from a culture of oppression and has benefited radically from that oppression, and I need to be aware of that, and I think sensitive to that, and try and speak to that, and that's how I can be an ally. But I don't necessarily think of myself as an oppressor, right? So like that's where like I feel like that, like when someone says like the oppressor, like it's close. Like I am guilty by association, and there's definitely moments where I am completely unaware of how ignorant I'm being or how racist I've been, and it's like I feel like those happened a lot more in my younger years, and I feel like I've had I think the one I experienced more was sexism. Like there were things I didn't know, especially growing up in a religion. Like I was raised Jehovah's Witness, and I feel like there was a lot of innate sexism in that, and so I feel really quite blessed to have spent so much time around my aunts who left that religion, and my mom, and have had a lot of impact on my ability to speak to things I'm not necessarily aware about. At the same time, yeah, it's like it's that what do you call it? I think I'm rambling now, but I don't know. I hope I've spoke to some of the point. Supporting businesses that pay living wages. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and maybe making lists of that. Like this is just like a beginning conversation, right? I'm hoping someone will watch this and have like maybe they even have an idea of how I'm radically wrong. Like I misrepresented value in some way. I don't have something outlined properly. There's just a huge hole in my argument, and fundamentally this approach doesn't have an impact. Then I'm interested. I want to hear somebody say something. Yeah, there's something to that, except the one thing I actually want to move away from wage demand. I think it needs to be standard of living demand. I think what we need to do is, and it may not be employers, it may be politicians. I think there was something I saw a little while ago where someone mentioned the reality of how we're going to impact the economic world is through politicians, and it was because they can create pressure through taxes and regulations, and companies have to end up jumping hoops through them, and so by creating standards of living where people crap like universal health care, like that, just I don't know how that the idea that your government will take care of you from your body, like your muscles, your teeth, your bones, and I know that bill is huge. That bill, it's a giant cost, but the problem is we adapted those things to be industries, like the medical, like education. What is it? Things that I believe should cover under basic human rights. Those things can, and if, there is actually a politician, I forget her name. Gosh, I really wish I could quote her right now. But she actually said, I'll find her. One of you guys may know. She's running in New York right now. She sounds great to me, obviously. But she said, we cannot put a cost on things, or no, we cannot deny someone through cost something that would save their life. Right? If by denying them this, it would kill them, it's inhumane to put a cost on that, because a cost could deny them that, right? We just can't afford those things. Like she outlined, I think, or was it her that was talking about the insulin? I'm not sure. I think she's running as a senator, or is she running as a congresswoman? Congresswoman, I don't know how people would pronounce that in terms of gender. Is it, I think she's New York. I feel like, oh, no, I'm not gonna find it. It's too bad. She's really good to listen to, though. Sorry, but anyway, so yeah, we putting a value on those things creates a divide in humanity, and these, there, like, you even hear the language amongst people who have more money, and it's like there are, and it's not all rich people. Like, I'm not saying all rich people, right? We know that, but there is a common language around the value of the individual based around the value of their money. And you know what? Actually, it's unfair of me to put that on rich people. Actually, I hear it in myself. I hear it. Cynthia Nixon. I don't know. She's running now. Like, she's current. She's black. So nope, that's not her. I don't know if she's what do you call it? Where she's, or exactly where maybe she's running in the Bronx. I don't know what the difference would be. My ignorance is glaring. But she sounds awesome. She really, really does. But yeah, that economic divide really, like, it impacts us from all the way from a language level to a behavioral level. And I think, yeah, no, she's not the right one there. I think that's the thing we need to really, really do something about. And maybe I'm just presenting a problem, everybody knows about it, and I'm just the new kid to it. But I think, and it's about flipping our hierarchy. Actually, when I was talking, I don't know if you caught it when I was talking about hierarchy and how you can notice a hierarchy in a value system by how much you'll give of one thing for how little of another, and whichever you give the least amount actually has the most value. So, like, if I trade $1 for one of these pens versus two of these pens, this pen is cheaper, right? And they're both worth $1. Two of these pens are worth $1. This pen is worth $1. This one's cheaper, right? So by seeing what you'll trade. Yeah, right. Like, these are all things that we need to be willing to risk going to jail. Risk, I'm pretty much promoting some forms of civil disobedience. That's where we're at. I think we also got to recognize that society is built on civil disobedience, because once we get to civil disobedience, we are now recognizing that the law and the current social structure no longer represents the value of the people. And we're not wrong when we say this doesn't do good for us anymore, right? There's more of us than there are of those who employ, or like there are more of those employed than there are those who employ. And so we have to represent ourselves in this fight. And sorry, actually, I didn't see your comment. If I demand more money from my employer, they can just say no and hire someone else for less. than they are currently paying me. I think this is the problem for most. Yeah, exactly. No, like, this is the idea that can happen. That's why it's a buyer's market, right? So the employer can literally just discard you. Your value to work is related more to how little they can pay you versus how much they have to pay you. And so what we need to do is break that concept down. That the idea that is there, and it's tough because we've learned to trade our self-worth for money. Right, we've learned to trade, like, there are people who trade sleep. There are people who trade time with your family. I've talked about this earlier. People who will trade food because you just can't afford it, or you don't have the time to eat in that moment. Sorry, we got a comment. As a socialist, I love the sound of it, but I think, particularly speaking, the majority of the world will not go for this. As a species, we fear change. Yeah, for sure. I mean, these are just these are reasons why it won't work. I mean, you're right. I'm not gonna tell you it's just gonna happen. The thing about it is, I think the way to pitch it, if ever, is what are we doing then, right? Like, since we're not willing to take care of ourselves first, right? We're not taking care of people first. That's not the point, right? Like I said, the bottom line right now is business. It's not personal, and that creates this divide of what do you call it? Compassion. And people start talking about, and you know, we may not still not be there. I think in terms of evolution, that's the next radical leap. We're moving towards compassion, and I think you see it in terms of how many vegans there are in the world, and like people who really have this like deep capacity to think outside of that's a different term, but really just having all of their mentality leaning towards compassion, right? Like the more we move, evolution moves toward compassion. I think this is going to be a concept that I think will only stand to come true. And what's interesting is, like, I've been talking about this stuff for years in terms of like my own beliefs and things like that. But it's coming. Like, we're seeing it online. I'm seeing people making posts, people who are more influential than myself, talking about how this, like I was talking to that senator, she's talking the same way. That NFL rep who, I don't know if he was an NFL rep or he was just a boardsman or a spokesman, but I talked about taking the knee during the national anthem, and like just how brilliantly he spoke towards the compassion of the reality of the situation versus nationalizing and dividing, right? I think we're at a very, this is a pivotal moment, right? We have this individual who is literally like the image of economic greed and development. That sounds, I feel like that's right. Oh, it's funny. Did I just guess that she's black and I am wrong? I might be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I'm sorry if it's true. This is totally her. Yes, she is awesome. Alexandria. Oh, I can't say that. I'm only gonna make it sound. I'm just only gonna make it sound. Let's make myself sound more ignorant than I already have. My apologies, but yeah, she is absolutely awesome to listen to in terms of where I'm coming from and my beliefs. And I don't think that we're gonna it's not gonna be like this massive radical change necessarily, though it could be. But the like I was saying, we are in this it's pivotal. Like people are being exposed for their truth more than ever before, and I think as ugly as it is, it's a good thing. Like it's like a lot of bad has come from it, but I think that's a nature in humanity, right? We expose the ugly to develop an overarching truth that I'm speaking individually, right? Like you eventually have to break down and share the bad things you've done to people you care about to be able to move past them. Usually, like you can't stay hooked into them. Yes, absolutely. That is the one I'm thinking of. I feel like that question came quite a bit after though, because those take a little while. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Oh, this has gone on so much longer than I anticipated, but I am stoked on the conversation. I feel like I wonder if you guys people get to see the chat that I have, Because if not, well, I've read most of the questions. Yes, I actually have read all the questions. So that's good. But yeah, like I said, we are a species of fear. That is a thing that has been very natural in us and very prevalent. But I also think we are a species of consciousness now. We are becoming more aware. And I don't think it's straight up, yes, we can. Yeah, you know, I mean, if we need to chat about it, I'm down. But I think the idea that we can't it's there and perpetuates versus what can we do, right? What are the things? And like, even if we just start by really, really going out of our way of supporting companies that take care of their employees. I mean, honestly, this is this project, the thing I'm doing with Robinhood, like I had a personal breakdown around this whole concept. Like, this has weighed on me, the idea that humanity isn't worth it to people. Like, that the individual isn't worth, like, the people walk by homeless and don't break down. Like, that just, like, the fact that we've grown callous to that, and the knowledge that there's, I wrote a poem that said that there's a knowledge that there is a child in this city with no home. Like, that just makes me stumble. And I think people, we just, honestly, maybe we just need to cry a little more. Like go outside and experience it. Like, feel how hard it is for some people, and like, let yourself feel it. Let yourself experience it, because there are some of us that, like, I don't know. I don't know how to teach people to care. I want to, but all I can keep doing is try to bring awareness to where there are things we need to talk about. And I'm trying to do it as top down as I can, because I think there are some real core ones that the more we do, more perpetuate the problem. But yeah, wow, 38 minutes of recording. That's crazy. Thanks for all the questions, everyone, and the conversation. I don't know if I hope I answered any of the questions. I feel like it's like, answers are the tough one. Like, I don't know if you caught the beginning, but I'm not telling people things I know. I'm not saying things that are certain. I'm saying things that I think I see and I feel. I'm trying to convey an experience that I think can be shared and has what do you call it? Has value. And the truth has value to me. I believe that. But yeah, no, thanks. Well, that was today. Today was nerve-wracking, I'm gonna tell you that. This whole topic has been breaking me for like a week. I ended up taking a couple days off because, like, I just couldn't think of another topic. I couldn't reflect past a couple thoughts, and I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'm really appreciate all the conversations, or the questions, where the politicians. So this is where the politicians that we elect. Sorry, this is a question from Teresa Taylor. So this is where the politicians that we elect need to force employers to give us better compensation for our work. Yeah, that's going to be a thing. I really want to work away from the word compensation. I think that word, actually, I'm glad you said that exact word, because there's a difference between the concept, like in terms of definition of compensation and pay, right? Though it isn't distinct, like it isn't inert, it's more implied. When you're compensated, there's an implied loss. And usually the original outline of compensation was time, right? I'm compensating for you for your time. But now you can compensate someone for their lunch break. And you can compensate someone... sorry, there was other questions, and I've got to remember, like, when things move, my brain's just like, what's that? Oh, it's shiny. Hi. Oh, what? What are we talking about? Compensation. Right, so... compensation is a thing that the idea that we can compensate someone for those basic needs, those basic human values, those things that, well, I want to move away from basic human values, is more towards they are needs that help us dictate our values. And I think the link is so close that we need to have all our value systems around those needs. We need to make sure that everyone's got clean drinking water. Like the idea to me, like this one just kills me. I'm hoping to be able to talk to someone about this soon, but the whole what's the name of it? The pipeline, the Kinder Morgan project. Right there, you have a community, like a First Nations community, that is defending water. Right, they are going out there. They're I think the term they used was water keepers, or defend. They were stopping this pipeline. It would clearly negatively impact the ecosystem. Even if you don't think there's a spill or something really tragic going to happen, it's not a positive thing. You can never say this is good for an ecosystem. You can say it's good for an economy, but you cannot say ever it's good for an ecosystem. Those words just cannot go together. Anyway, so they're defending this, and then when you look into like both the history and the current state of reservations in BC and, well, I guess Canada, around the world, or around Canada, I don't know the states and stuff, but like there are many that don't have clean drinking water. And these bands that are there defending this, they know that. They may even be the ones that don't benefit from this privilege the most, but they're still there. That's what I was talking about when there's a tribalism that deeply understands this, right? Like they think about the need to preserve each other and what that means to each other more than the current development of Western civilization, for sure. And there are some notes to take on that one. Anyway, that was a deep tangent, but the idea that like we can compensate people for that, right? Like these are people that understood that there was no compensation for clean water. They knew that they needed to lay their lives down and like put themselves in direct, not lay their lives down, but put themselves in direct harm's way and impact the situation and draw attention to, and I just a huge respect, and I was in a time in my life where I didn't have what it took to be there, but I was very, very impressed by the people who did. Anyway, sorry, there's been questions. So this is where the politicians. Yep, I've read a bit about her. Am liking what I hear. Consideration. Better consideration than compensation. Ooh, interesting. Okay, interesting. For consideration, yes, we can see the whole chat. Oh yeah, you guys can, but when I post this as a video, it may not show the chat for you guys for the video. So that's why I'm reading out the questions. So it's a legitimate term that refers to an exchange, doesn't necessarily need to be cash. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Consideration. I haven't heard that. That would be oh, thank you, Teresa. That's yeah, it's such a learning process. Okay, cool. I'm glad to see that. I've gone back to look at the videos, and sometimes they don't show for me, and I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong place. Don't know. But I'm gonna be honest. I think my brain kind of like popped on that. I don't know, unless you guys got more questions, because I totally, honestly, that thing of consideration, that's a term I had not heard, and I think I need to look into more of. I wonder how that might apply, and how we could use it, if it's something that could be used to this deal with this situation that I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate all the interaction. Thank you, everyone, for coming down and watching and seeing what I've got to say. I hope something of this lands for you, and at the very least leads you to a thought that either wants you to participate or develops another question. I'm super interested in revisiting this topic. I don't think I've covered everything of it at all, and so if people have things they want to bring up about it, or want to talk about how what I've said has impacted them or affected them in any way, I'm totally open to your experience, and I would like to continue the conversation. But yeah, let's see, there's one more. Not sure if it would work for application, but it came to mind. Okay, yeah, I can appreciate that. Yep, no, that's it's part of the conversation now, so we're gonna find out. Yeah, I think tomorrow I may not bring another topic for a couple days. This one, it took a lot out of me. It really hit me, and I think I actually one of the next topics that's on my head is risk management, which pretty much directly connects to value, and I want to talk about how the world is currently applying some of their risk management and where we're failing at some of it. But I may take a day or two on that. I will, if the more questions come on this video, or people have any interest in this video, I will absolutely come back in tomorrow or the next day and hash it out, and we'll have some chats. I think I'm going to try and keep the times on these reflections pretty close, like somewhere around 6 or 7. I feel like people are home from work, and we can have more of a Discord, and more people can be a part of it. And I think the more people get interested in however what I got to say is, then hopefully we can give money away, because that's the plan, and that's the whole plan. I want to give money to people. I want that to happen. That's the most important thing to me here. I mean, not the real, it's close. It's so close. I have so much desire for the world. Anyway, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. I really appreciate it, and thank you for all the comments and questions. If you have any, please make them down below. If you're interested in the website and what Robinhood can do for you, there's a link down in the description, I think it is. That's what they call that thing. And then there's a link to my Twitch account where I will do game stuff because I love gaming and it keeps me sane. So that's what I like to do. Yeah, I will talk to you guys soon. Oh, also, if you liked today's conversation, do me a huge favor and share it somewhere. Put it somewhere and tell somebody about it. Be like, hey, this was goods. It's other goods. What is the most value aspect of this project for me? Wow, that's an interesting one. I think this project allows me to address these things right now. So the impact for my life in terms of like how the way I've felt about the world in terms of like how it takes care of everybody, it's been this way for a very long time. And so I've been kind of just upset and depressed and sad and like hurt. I feel hurt by society, and and then like I guess this, it's gotta sound so ignorant coming from like a straight white man, but I just look at the way the world treats people, and it just hurts. And I've never understood how it doesn't hurt everybody else. Like I don't know what it takes to turn that off. But I don't want to. And for the longest time, I tried. I really tried. And I tried to do work that would help other people get over the issues they faced in society. And really, I had it all backwards, right? And it's so deeply ingrained about the way we talk about personal care, right? Like we talk about personal care like there's something wrong with the individual usually, right? Like you don't have the right chemicals in your brain. You're missing what do you call it? You're not doing something. There's something wrong with the individual and not the experience. And because of that, I couldn't figure it out. And then somewhere in it was actually in playing poker where I had some of my best financial success. That I kind of like, for a long time, I thought the reason why I was upset was because of money. Like I grew up kind of like not with a lot of money, and I never really ever had much money. And then I realized once I started getting a little more, it wasn't a ton more, but it was enough to notice the difference and to identify differently. Well, actually, no, it was a fair amount more, but nonetheless, it was a difference in perspective. But then I still felt there just wasn't something there. There was something missing. I was unfulfilled. And I had these moments where I was able to help friends economically with their life and family, and seeing them getting past the struggle was the most valuable thing. I think it was the best I'd ever felt. And seeing them develop things that were successful for them through that, it's just that's it. That's what made me feel like this has got to be the thing to do. And I feel like that's it. Like the idea that the most valuable thing I think is the idea of getting to help people with things they can't necessarily deal with financially in their own life right now. And I believe it's because of this value hierarchy, if I'm honest. The more I break down this concept, the more I look at it and I go, well, look at this concept of the way we value the world and the things in it. It's hurting us, and it's hurting our mental and social health and emotional health. And I think it's prevalent. And I think the more we start creating a system that gives the advantage to people and isn't afraid of being taken advantage of, because it's literally the whole point, I think it's just going to get better. And I think people, well, I don't know, that's it. I mean, I just want to change the world. That's all. I just, I really, I don't know. I really can't wait till the day we get to give away that first 1,000, and just, I mean, you could go to someone who doesn't necessarily really need it. And I've asked on some of my videos, if you don't really need the money if you want to, you can donate it back to us. We'll do the process of a donation, and I'll redraw it right away. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I think that's it. That's a long answer to that question. But I guess I've explored it, but I've never tried to say it out loud. It's just so big. But yeah, I think it's just fulfillment is it. I mean, I don't know if I believe people are altruistic, but I do think that it just feels good to help people. Like, it just does. It feels good to give love and give care. And it sucks when someone takes advantage of that and hurts you with it. But I think we're so deep in this, like, system of abuse and system of oppression, and like I said earlier, like if society can't be civil if it's developed on and sustained by oppression. And I think we're absolutely in that. And I think it's many forms, but I think this one really dictates a huge amount of it. And I think the more we break that down, the divisions that we see in the other forms of in other forms of oppression, I think we'll start to feel a little more unified. And the hate we've learned so much and taught each other so much, it'll take a different shape. I don't know if it'll go away, but it'll take a different shape. And because I mean, I don't know, humanity, we just have this nature in us for that. And I come from a place where I don't know what it would look like not to have hate in the world. I just don't know. But I think this is a start. Well, geez, that's a ramble. I can't stop fidgeting with my hands. Yeah, with that one, I don't know. Is that a reasonable answer to the question? I am not certain. I do not know. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I've rambled on long enough. My brain's thank you. I got applauds. Applauds happened. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap that up. Tie a bow around it. You know who you are. Tie a bow about it. I guess that was the idea. Yeah. But yeah, I love y'all. I appreciate all the comments and all the questions. And if there are any more come to you, please put them down below. Please like and share the video, because that's how the whole project gets going. I'm gonna tweet this thing. That's a weird thing for me. I don't know if I should tweet this or tweet my old stuff and then slowly tweet my way up to this. But like, tweeting is it just seems so weird to me. I also intend to do a game in review today. I don't know if I just don't think I want to play Deus Ex Human Revolution anymore. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm not really into it. It just gets slow. I like playing it sometimes. I do like playing it sometimes. But there's other times where, like, I've lost a level on the third time, and I'm just like, I don't mind losing a level on the third time if I'm shooting my way through, but I really don't like losing a level on a third time if I'm staking my way through. I'm just like, I don't have the patience for this. Because, like, I know what I have to do. I'm just bad at it. And I just, like, it's not something I really want to get better at sneaking around in a game. It's just not like I do or don't want to. It just, I don't feel compelled. I'm a hard person to compel. I'm very, persnickety. Anyway, thanks again to everyone who participated in the conversation. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Bye-bye. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, yeah, I gotta go over here. I've set up everything all different now. It's all weird. Things are weird. It's weird. But we're good.